Yeah, absolutely. Well, Alan, did you have any other military matters you wanted to bring to the audience's attention this week, or should we wrap up the military segment?
Well, I want to bring attention to and also do some advertising for something Daniele did. Daniele, I know you're hanging around here, and he made an absolutely
Yeah, yeah.
wonderful article about artillery barrels.
Get him up here. I want to talk about artillery barrels.
Buonasera,
Hey.
Daniele. Well, while
Good
he
evening.
Buonasera, good evening. While he gets ready, I'm gonna try and pull up the article. But you also went on our friend ATP Geopolitics channel and talked about this, didn't you?
Yes, yes. Was a quite long chat, but in reality, we discussed about a large variety of topics, and artillery barrel was a focus one probably. But we discussed a lot of other things, and anyone who would like to follow another good content creator and an actual journalist on the matter, I think ATP Geopolitics is a very nice guy to follow. And
Yeah, and I guess we don't need to go into the very depths of this because you did that extensively in the video on his channel, right?
yeah, I mean, he asked me a lot of questions up and down and tried to make a summary, because essentially this is possibly my longest tweet ever, and I mean it's a thread in reality, but it's also quite detailed. I tried to work out essentially the conception of these thread was trying to dismantle in some cases just ignorance on the matter, but also the propaganda, and also the large amount of critiques on Western equipment, in particular modern Western equipment, and often a direct comparison with new equipment with old equipment, with these constant things that, oh, if we were 40, 50 years ago, this war would be different because we would have better weapon, because when we were at war in the Second World War, barrel were much better. But in reality, the reality is much different, more complex. So this is also one thing that people have to understand, that today's systems, even a barrel is much more complex rather than before. But this is also because barrels, in this specific case, barrels can do things that priorly they couldn't. So and the thread is very interesting, and the post on Tochnyi website is, I think, very nicely put, because we with you, Erland, we made possible to have all the images next to the text, and also the text is quite well organized. And what you would like to discuss about these? I mean, in particular, there is any question that you would like to raise, or?
Well, so the reason why you originally made the tweet and then also the article form, it's the same text that is just published on our website, but wasn't it to kind of counter some voices that we saw?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the voice was basically that modern Western artillery systems cannot sustain this sort of attritional warfare, right?
Yes, and in particular that we tend to have a boutique defense industry, which essentially with Jonathan we tried to put this into a context, because it's also not very well used, that word, and Jonathan can talk for a bit about that. But anyway, the main point of these people is that we inflate budget, we waste money, and these weapons are not capable, and in some extent maybe inferior of what we had in the past. But this is not true. This is simply untrue, And the beauty of these posts is that also demonstration that if you have a bit of knowledge and patience, you can access resources like the artillery manual, because this table that you are showing, this table and are available to everyone. I put the link on the artillery manual of 2016, which now is freely available. The updated version is not, of course, is not freely available. But you can essentially do calculation of different about different things on artillery, and one of these is the analysis of the fatigue and the corrosion life, the wear life of a barrel, which is something that people on the ground while operating the gun have to do, because they have to estimate how many EFC, which is a particular unit that artilleryman knows very well, which allows you to translate um, to translate the type of charge that you fired into a certain amount of damage to your barrel. And once this damage reach a certain number, which is 2,500, means that your gun should be serviced. Now, there are a lot.
EFC is this this table here on the right? This number here.
Yeah, yes, is the equivalent full charge. Now let's make a parenthesis. Now, when we say that any gun in NATO should have 2,500 EFC, means that it should be able to fire 250 155 full charge. So this means the 7R. So the largest and more powerful propellant charge that you can house, at least to my knowledge. Now, one of the things that I was discussing with CJ and his contribution with the contribution of Jonathan, who revised the text and improved it a lot, was exactly on this: how we operate, what type of fire mission are normal for an howitzer like the M777. Because if you do the calculation with essentially a full charge, you essentially destroy very quickly, but still longer than, I don't know, a long tom, which I took as example of Second World War, which was one of the most successful howitzer at the time. You essentially consume very quickly the life of the barrel. However, there are 2 points. First, you don't use the full charge always. That's the simple things. And in that table, you can see that there are different charge from the 1L, 2L, 3H, 4H. And honestly, there is also an example that I used from CJ. He told me you can get a typical day, like 100 round 4H, 50 3H, and a little, and then you can do a mixture. You can do a calculation. And so how it works, you can see that there is an erosion and fatigue effect in decimals. So this number is the number that you have to multiply for the amount of round that you fired. So for example, if you fired 100 for H, you have an equivalent erosion effect of 0.5. So you multiply 100, which are the number of the round, for 0.5, and you get your first number, which is 50. Then you take the 50 round that you fired using a 3H, and you multiply for 0.2. You sum all these 2 contributions together, and these 2 contributions together are much lesser than 150. So the cumulative number of shell, which is in this case is around 60. So this means that you removed from 2050 from 2,500, 60 shell. So that day you fired an equivalent of 60 full charge shell, full charge, effective full charge, and so on. So every day you have to repeat these things. But on the top of these, CJ gave me some information about barrel that has been very over 11,000, 15,000 rounds, because the 2,500 is a safety limit. And I didn't explore this, but in one of the reference there is a NATO a NATO manual on wear of guns, on artillery guns, And there are procedures for the people on the ground, not the depot, to use borescope and other particular instrument to evaluate the life of the barrel already on the field. So if you are in an emergency situation, like you have to shoot anyway, and even if you are at the limit of your theorized life, you need to be able to check the gun and do a fire mission if you are forced to. And Ukraine had to in the past. And so it's not it's surprising that several of their barrel widely exceeded the planned life. And then,
So,
of course, at some point they have to replace. Yes,
so the 2,500 max
it's very
charge,
conservative.
yeah, it's conservative and it's bare minimum of what the barrel has to be able to sustain, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
We
And
also have because
yeah,
we're kind of running out of time here
yeah,
as
sorry.
well, and I thank you very much, Daniele. But I kind of want to go to some of the questions, and then I would recommend viewers also to check out the video on ATP geopolitics. We'll post it in the video description after the stream has ended. But Necktorn asks, is it possible to use the same barrels on different artillery system? And is there a NATO standard for barrel length, or will different barrels be needed for all systems, I guess?
I can reply without any doubt about the standard. I know that there is a 32 and 59 caliber. So the short and long version of the same gun. For example, most of the Paladin were 32-ish, and then the new version, or for example, the PH Z2000, the Panzerhaubitzer, has the longest one, the 59, the L59 gun, which, by the way, in the sector is seen as one of the most reliable and good gun that we could deploy. So a lot of the critiques on that piece of artillery are done in a way that they don't know in which condition that piece of artillery had to operate, because it was at nearly after the start of the invasion. There was a very lack of artillery, and they probably used those Panzerhaubitzer like in a crazy way, and not crazy because they are crazy, but just because they needed. So, and for the interchangeability of the barrel, I can't reply to this because I don't know honestly. The main issue is that you can see that the barrel normally need to be installed on the breech. So essentially, it's not only a single piece. I'm not sure about the of barrel being interchangeable, even if the caliber is the same. Some gun have particular system, like the Panzerhaubitzer has even sensor in the gun. So I'm not sure if this gun can be in an emergency situation mounted on another one. I honestly don't know. I don't think so, because manufacturer tends to protect their product, but it's also true that NATO may want these for the future if it's not already there. But again, please let me know, because I'm curious at this point.
Just for me, hello at everyone. First of all, just for me, I know KMW both produces the same systems, so it's one manufacturer, but it's still technically two different weapon systems. And RCH 155, so the remote control howitzer 155, and the Panzer beats both use the same cannons, the same barrel, produced by Rheinmetall. So I know it's technically the same producer, but also technically two different weapon systems. So it is possible, yeah. In this scenario, at least.
And I have one question for Daniele as well. Thank you, Germany. What happened here? Like, what is, and more specifically, what is the most common reason for a barrel to fail, like in these two images?
Okay, so now, with all honesty, on the left, this is on Abrams, and is a smoothbore gun, but in both cases, what you see is a complete failure of the gun along the longitudinal direction. So these happen as well, if you see also on the Masta, happen quite ahead of the breach, so far away from the point of highest pressure. So when the barrel even ejects itself, and this happened to a crab, honestly, most of the time is an overpressure inside the breech, which causes a catastrophic failure. This one is very likely to be produced by an end life problem, especially the Mashta, because we know that they were overwhelmingly used to the point that they had to replace some of these barrel with a towed version. So that in this case is an example of a combination of wear and fatigue that with the times create first erode the wear erodes, and also the chemistry and high temperature cyclic, because this machine fire this round very quickly at high intensity, so the barrel are subjected to thermal cycles, so and fatigue, and material tends to become more brittle, especially the coatings, and when they chip or being worn away, they allow hot gases and other chemicals to attack the metal, and then you have something that essentially is like a corrosion that slowly penetrate within the steel. And once you have these microfracture occur, and then at some point, if you don't put any remedy, you may have something like that. So that there is a point of failure, and then it just open up. And this flowering or this type of opening is typical because is due to the internal pressure that cannot be contained, and then open the gun in that way.
Thank you very much, Daniele. And please, if you're interested, this is the latest blog post on Tochnyi.info, or you can find the thread at Daniele's Twitter account. And we also have the video on Jonathan's channel, ATP Geopolitics, if you want to listen to Daniele talk about this for about an hour. I think it's a great video.
Yeah, nice video.
Well, thank you very much, Daniela, for joining us. We didn't want to do a full segment on the artillery barrel because the ATP politics one is, or geopolitics one is so good. So yeah, we just recommend everyone go tune into that one. So, but thanks for coming up and give us like a brief little rundown, little sample for the audience, and all as a for the main course is definitely that video. So go check it out. So we are going to now wrap up with our regular weekly segment, the picture of the week. So I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan. Jonathan, my friend, over to you.
Thank you, Joseph. Our picture of this week is a picture of somebody doing a job which perhaps isn't as well recognized as it usually is in the public domain, but to Ukraine's defenders is of vital significance to the saving of lives, both on the battlefield and off it. It has been said that the engineer has been and is a maker of history. The engineers that work with and in Ukraine, repairing the vehicles that save the lives of its warriors. The engineers repairing vital infrastructure, saving lives. It is these people Tochnyi recognizes this week. Many thanks for everybody who's joined us. Please do check out our Spotify and Apple podcasts. We update them every week. We will also do streams quite regularly throughout the week. So we've done 3 a week at times. So do continue to follow us on Twitter on the main account, or click like and subscribe on the YouTube channel you might be watching on right now. There's more coming. Thank you to our wonderful panel today. Please stay tuned for more. Ukraine endures. Slava Ukraini.
Heroям слава.
Героям слава.
Всім добрий вечір.
On behalf of the brave, on behalf of every father and every mother, wings for freedom.